Hey, everybody, welcome to Mini Scoop. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are. It is official. It is official. We have arrived at Crazytown. The question that we asked today is whether or not we booked a round trip ticket or this is just a, one-way destination. The Hotel California, you check in, but you never leave. These are the burning questions we have just a few days before the election. I have a few examples in my life as to how suddenly things do feel that we've entered this sort of new period of time that we're not going to get through until after the election. And the question is really when that will actually happen, because there's all these different predictions about when we will actually have results. We're going to talk about that today. But I do have an example of some of the rather strange editorial calls that one has to make when you run a news organization during these fraught times that we're in. And I have a funny one for you today that I hope will make you laugh. I was hoping for something different. I was hoping to present to you a story that could bring us all together. A beautiful scene of the White House. The White House was hosting a Halloween party this week. And amongst my team, we were talking about this. We're like, oh, we're so relieved. We could really use a beautiful picture of the White House, maybe some happy children in cute costumes, anything to sort of remind us of this amazing country that we're all in, and perhaps a non political, nonpartisan topic. Maybe not everyone loves Halloween, but a child in a cute costume, a magical moment perhaps to present, to interrupt the doom scrolling in our feeds. Everyone was on alert on the team. If you see something sweet, something sort of funny, this is we need something like this week. Otherwise, it's too heavy with the political talk and the references to garbage from all sorts of different places. You got to take a break from that for a second. So I wake up this morning and I'm looking to see maybe there's something great from this nighttime Halloween event. And here's what I stumbled on from Newsweek. Newsweek is not a bastion of conservative thinking. It is not overly critical of the White House. In fact, I would probably describe it as more progressive. But the headline that I see is about the president biting a baby during the Halloween party. And folks, I thought to myself, here's the strange place I sit in. If I look for a very sweet, wonderful photograph from this night that doesn't include biting a baby, then I am ignoring perhaps a more important story. We could be criticized for that. However, if I cover the biting baby headline, then I am clearly editorializing and partisan. Nothing that we want to be a part of. So, what do I do in these sort of situations? You know what we do? We don't cover anything at all. It's a no win situation. The president biting the baby is a no-win situation, and we officially moved on past trying to find something sweet and cute from the White House from Halloween night. I can confirm, based on my reporting, that no babies were actually injured in this incident, and in fact, the baby even looked sort of happy. Clearly a Democrat plant. You know, I mean, these are the sort of things you see, you come across in social media and you think, is this really where we're at? Is this is this a real headline? No, it is. It is. So the Halloween party happened this week at the White House, and all we can report is there was a little biting baby incident, no big deal. And we're gonna move on to election day. So these are the sort of editorial questions and decisions we have to make at Smarter News. And I just sort of bowed out of this one. But I thought it was a great example for you. Here's how you have to weigh a story. Can we still go on with the story without mentioning the biting the baby? Or do I have to mention the biting the baby? Because otherwise, if I present something that looks too complimentary, then I'm by. I'll just leave it there. These are the sort of situations I never thought I'd have to kind of sort through. But here we are. Here we are just a few days before election day. I was speaking with two girlfriends yesterday, Taryn and Sarah. Shout out to them. We were having a nice conversation at school, and we were really talking about a whole bunch of things related to the election. And there were two questions that came up that I want to tackle for you just in this mini scoop. I didn't want to do this too close to election day because these are questions that I want to get in front of you early, not within 24 hours of voting. And so the two questions that really came up were, how was the race called? And when will we know? And these are the burning questions of Election Day 2024. And so I just wanted to sort through a few of these and provide a little bit of a reporter's notebook, a behind the scenes look at how races are actually called, and also give you an idea of when we could get potentially official results. By the way, not soon. Let's start there. Election results are never, ever final the day of an election. Let me just repeat that. Election results are never, ever final the day of the election. They are never certified day of. That does not change whether we're seeing a race where there's a very obvious winner and a very obvious loser, whoever that may be. It never happens. Every single state is handling a federal election and their own local elections in their own unique way. And as part of that process, they have a certification process that they go through where their results have to be certified at a certain date. Those dates are all over the place and very seldom come on the same day. So, on the day of the election, or even the day after, or even in the days after that, we're still looking at unofficial, uncertified results. That's not how it feels. But that's technically what's happening in the background as election officials in each state are going through their process to look through the results, make sure everything is neatly in line, appropriately counted and accounted for, and then they will go through the process of certifying the results. Then from the states, we have a whole other process of Congress certifying the results, which we're all more familiar with because of recent historical events. We can get to that eventually, but just so you know, the reason why the weeks after the election can look bumpy potentially is because there's a process that's actually taking place that in more quote unquote clear times, I don't even know if we can say that, but other times in our history, we kind of just ignored because the results were the results. There was a clear winner and we moved on. We already turned the page, even though all this work was happening in the background. So that's really important. The second thing to note is that when political races are called, they are not called by someone in a position of authority. There is no federal agency calling the race. There is no voice of God coming down and calling the race. It is a media organization that is calling the race. In many cases, the Associated Press, one of the largest newswire services in the entire world based in the United States, who'd been in business since the late 1800s, is the primary leader when it comes to calling different races. But when they call races, they're calling these races with a projected winner, and these are still unofficial results. Now, depending on what television network you like to follow, or even now these different individual news organizations, perhaps someday Smarter News could have our own decision desk and we can start making calls. But something to note is every single network or media organization that's in that field that has that sort of posture to field a team is fielding a different team of researchers or analysts or professors or experts who have a very different process of looking at results, who are calling those results at different times. And there's a competition that's taking place behind the scenes. The networks are watching each other to see who calls what when. And they're racing each other to be the first, but they don't want to be inaccurate. That's something that we saw during the last election, this kind of jousting for position and sometimes calling a race or saying, well, we're going to retract that or how we're going to look at a race because the races were so close in certain states that it took several days to actually finalize the unofficial projected winner. When did the Associated Press call the winner for the 2020 election? It actually happened on Saturday, November 7th, and mostly the rest of the news organizations are following, even though, again, these are unofficial projected results. The Associated Press says they have 100% accuracy in all their years of doing this. They are an industry leader. But you also have these other groups that are attempting to do something similar and to do it just as accurately. How are they doing that? What does it even look like? It depends on who you ask. In some situations, and I can only give you a little bit behind the scenes from what I saw, when I was working at Fox News, there was a election night in particular, which was, I believe, let me go back, 2012, which so many years. So we're, I want to, not that I want to date myself in all of this, but it's important to note that I have not been at Fox News now, let's see, 7 years. So a lot can happen during that time period, and certainly the news landscape has completely changed. But I love this experience I had in those early elections. They were the first sort of national elections that I was a part of. There would be a room full of these researchers and analysts that weren't typically at Fox News on a regular basis. They flew in from all different places around the country. They had an exclusive agreement with Fox News. They worked together and they were fascinating. They were so interested in the political process. Some of them taught political science, for example. They loved the American political process. And they had a way of looking at different states, different counties, different demographics of voters, and deciding when they felt comfortable to call a certain race in a certain state. Sometimes they would walk out of their room and they would be chatting because they would be taking a little bit of a break, and they would say, okay, we really think it's, this state is leaning this way, but we're going to wait for two more counties because we can't go with it yet. We got to wait to see what's going to happen next. And they had this sort of potion that they put together. Potion is probably not the word that they would use. They'd want to use something more scientific, but you can think of it more as an art rather than a science, because not everyone's doing it in the same way. And every network has their own group of that special group of people that may come in just for the election, or maybe is more of a permanent member of the team that brings in additional supporting team members to try to figure out these results. But whenever they're stepping to the microphone, even though it looks so authoritative and you see the big banners on the screens of who's the projected winner, just remember those key words: unofficial results, projected winner. The media is calling this, not the states, not the federal government, not law enforcement, not anyone that we think is, has some position of authority, although so many of these authoritative positions have been questioned over the last several years. And that's part of the kind of this feeling of uncertainty that we're all sort of feeling. It's just great to have that clarity that these are media calls. It's the media doing it, not not anyone in politics, not the politicians, not the campaigns, not the state, none of them. The media is doing it. So we really have to watch closely for that. What are we going to be doing election night? I am going to be watching the Associated Press. The Associated Press will not always be first, but they're a place that I like to go, that I trust particularly in this situation, in part because they're not on live TV or a live streaming service, trying to, again, joust for that position. With the stakes so high and clarity needed so much, a little slower is okay for me. I want you to feel some level of confidence with some of the results, and we're going to leave some room for the days that could follow. It is totally a likely scenario that we could go to bed, even wake up the next morning of election night and have a projected winner. There's all this preparation for that not happening, and that's happening in part because each state knows that their process can take several days for that official result to come in anyways. So there's a little bit of priming the public for that and a reminder to the public about that process. But in general, that is the process as it stands for decades, not a process that's new. So those are the best answers I have at this time for when will we know the results and how a race is called. And if you have any more additional questions about that and we could be helpful during this time, because I think you're going to be hearing a whole bunch of things from a lot of people, but if we can answer your questions, we'd love to do that from now through election night and after. And that's how I feel like we can actually provide a better, smarter service during this very cluttered news environment, biting babies and all sorts of things that are in the headlines for you. Here's a quick observation that I'll let you go today of what I'm just seeing in the news. And also as I'm listening to different leaders in these, variety of different political groups. Even though there's a conversation that's happening about every little thing that is said on the campaign trail and how people are standing and what the tone is and who's saying what, there's almost a return. And this typically happens during election seasons. Everyone goes kind of out of their mind and then has to come back to gravity right before the election. Out of your mind with all sorts of different gossipy, crazy stories everyone's chasing. And then suddenly it's, well, how do people really feel about the economy? Who do they feel really can lead when it comes to national security? Like we go full circle and we come right back down to the issues that actually matter. And I'm noticing that. And what does that mean as far as who's pulling ahead in the polls? We don't really know. I'm reflecting on that comment by Tom Bevan, who's the founder of Real Clear Politics, who told us last week, just remember, polling data is only good as the data that goes in, garbage out. And we have no way of knowing that right now. But there's a real return to some of these big issues that we talked about, even 18 months ago, about really being the main drivers of the election, because they're the main drivers in every election. So I look forward to your thoughts, your questions, your concerns. Email us, hello@smarternews.com. Send us a voice note. We love hearing from you. Video. We'll take a video. Why not? Let's do it. And we'd love to be helpful during this time, this historic time that we again get to witness together. So thank you again for your support of quick, concise, nonpartisan news. We'll see you with all the news coverage on smarternews.com and across social media channels from now through Election Day. And stay safe out there. I think it's a round trip ticket to Crazytown. More expensive than I'd like it to be, but a round trip. I'm looking towards getting through this developing story together. So thank you so much for your time and your support, and always more at smarternews.com. Have a great day, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.